The daily bias is undoubtedly one of the most important concepts you have to learn. How can you become a profitable trader if you don't understand the direction of the market? And that is exactly what the daily bias gives you. And everyone seems to overcomplicate daily bias. Have you ever watched a video about daily bias just to leave more confused than you were before? Well, today that is going to completely change because I'm going to give you the most simple ICT daily bias guide that you can have. This is going to help you master direction in the markets, because if there's one thing that has changed my trading the most, it was knowing consistently the direction of the market. And if you want to change your trading forever, I recommend you watching until the end. And if you want more videos like this, then liking and subscribing. So let's go into the charts. So finding the daily bias can be done by answering 3 simple questions. Yes, 3 questions. So what are those questions? Well, first of all, we have, where are we right now in the market, right? We'll look at an example, by the way. Where are we in the market? Then what are we targeting next? And then afterwards, if you want a little bit more precision, where will we go first? So the daily bias, it can be as simple as understanding, okay, this is where I am right now, and I expect the market to reach this level. And then your goal is to trade from here to here. That's all you have to do. So I will show you how we can answer these questions of where we are, what we are targeting next, and where will we go first. So let's see this in action. Right here, where are we in the market? I want you guys to answer this. Where are we in the market right now? If we check this chart right here, where are we right now? What is the market structure looking like? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves when we are looking at the chart on the daily at the beginning of every single day. In this, what should have jumped out to you is that 1, we are bearish, so this is bearish market structure. So from here on out, your daily bias should mostly be bearish, right? Stop trying to call these lows. I could stop this video right now and you would already have a better knowledge of the market by me just telling you, don't try to call this low. Don't think that because we swept this low, we are moving higher. Understand, now that we've swept this low and we've closed below it, we are now bearish, which means that our daily bias, and by the way, the daily bias would start to be bearish from here on forward. So after this daily candle closure, your bias would be bearish constantly because you would ask yourself, okay, where are we? What is the current market structure? So it's bearish. What are we going to target next? We are going to target this low, right? But in this specific case, we are bearish and we are at a daily fair value gap. So what is the daily bias? Well, let's ask ourselves, we are at the daily fair value gap, what are we targeting next? That is the next question. You can target the daily low, you can target the previous day low, or you can even target the overall low. Normally, either way, the market will end up going through all of these lows. It's very rare where we just sweep this low and then move higher, right? We usually do go for the lows. So we are bearish in terms of market structure. We are at the daily fair value gap, and we have just tapped it. So what are we targeting next? We have here the low. So let's see how it played out. We can see we went beautifully to the fair value gap and then eventually towards the low. And this was actually a trade that I did take. If we quickly go back to that day on my charts, we can see right here, this was the trade that I took. I waited for what? I waited for the market to move first towards the daily fair value gap, which answers the question, where will we go first? Then the overall bias was already bearish. So I want to see the market first going to where I think it's going to go. And then I want to see it turning bearish. And as you can see, tapped it again, and then it went to the downside and it hit full TP for a 1 to 1.64 R. Right? So great trade in general. And this shows you how simple daily bias can be. And I know that right now you're thinking, well, you just picked this one was obvious. So let's go into the charts. But first of all, I want to tell you guys something. What is the problem with this one being obvious? Obviously, by the way, the fact that I'm showing you this, you might be thinking, well, you picked the most obvious one, but let me tell you, the best trades are the most obvious ones. The best daily bias are the ones where it's going to be extremely clear. You should be trading the pairs that have a clear daily bias. Well, what do you think that it's better for you not to know the daily bias? And if you, for some reason you call it right, then oh my God, I'm such a good trader. No, you should be going for the easy daily bias. If it's not on euro dollar, it's on pound dollar. If it's not on Forex, it's on futures. If it's not on futures, it's on crypto, right? You need to understand that for us as traders, we should be trading the obvious. We should be trading the easy moves. Because why are people flexing so much on the fact that they entered on a hard move? It doesn't make any sense. All of my trades are easy trades. That's the only thing I focus on. But let's go to the charts. Let's see this move to the upside, and then we'll see the move to the downside. So let's see this move that happened this year in euro US dollar. So where are we in the markets? We are obviously bullish. The previous 1, 2, 3 candles have been very, very bullish. And now you might say, well, because we are very bullish, right now the bias is bearish. And you see that that is where a lot of traders fail. Because when they want to find out what the daily bias is, what they're actually saying is, when is the market going to reverse? How do I know when the market is going to reverse? How do I know that this is going to be the low and that I can long here and take this trade to the upside? Understand, that is not what a profitable trader does. A profitable trader, he waits for the market to shift and then he longs on the way to the upside. Believe me, your easiest trades are going to be this, and I will show you so many examples of that. So our target is going to be these highs right here. So what do you want to trade? Well, you want to trade on longs. You always want to see if the market moves a little bit lower, which is going to be the daily power of 3, and then move higher, a little bit lower, higher, a little bit lower, higher, right? You are trying to take advantage of the meat of the move, right? So from here to there, you have a total of 130 pips. From here on, you can take 3 trades and be profitable. You don't need much more than that. And so once you see the market moving to the upside, look, okay, we have a down move. So now what do we expect to target? We expect to target this high next. So let's see. And then we also have this high, which creates equal highs, which is very high probability of the market moving to the upside. And so we have this move up. Notice how now we've closed above this down close candle. So now the move to the upside is in full force, which means that once again, now you want to target these highs, right? So what do we see? On the next day, market moves lower and then moves to the upside. Now you might say, oh, well, this one was easy. Well, you want to trade easy markets. I've told you this. You want to trade easy markets. And then afterwards, we reach this high. Our next target is going to be what? These equal highs right here. So equal highs right here on the left, and now this previous day high. So let's see what we get. Let's mark this out again. Equal highs. Daily bias still bullish, right? Boom, we target it again. And now you might say, oh, well, but now the whole move has happened. I have no more risk to reward. Well, let me show you something. From here to here, you still have a 23 pip move. With a 10 pip stop, you still have a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Right? So with that being said, you still have the possibility of having profitable trades, even though we have already expanded. The problem with so many traders, why they mistake the daily bias, is because they don't understand that it can be as simple as follow the trend. Stop trying to call the highs. Just because we swept this high does not mean that we are going lower. Just because we swept these highs does not mean we're going lower. Just because we sweep this high does not mean that we are going lower. So we continue asking ourselves, where are we? What are we targeting next? So you can even remove this question all along. Ignore this question. Where are we and what are we targeting next? That's the only 2 things that you need to ask yourself, right? So let's go back and let's see, what are we targeting next? The daily bias is still bullish, right? Next day, we target the high once again. Now, obviously, when we target the high, you can expect a pullback. Expecting a pullback is very different from trying to call a high, because it's normal that after we have multiple moves to the upside, we can have a little bit of a pullback. But this is where I said in one of the videos that let's say that the pullback just comes down towards this fair value gap. For example, you are trying to trade a little bit of a piece of a move when you can just be waiting to position yourself and take the meat of the move. You want to trade the biggest portions of the move instead of just trying to scalp your way through these short-term moves. That's why so many people struggle with the daily bias. So afterwards, we continue going a little bit lower, and then what is the next target? We target this previous high. Afterwards, you go to the left and you ask yourself, okay, what are we targeting next? We had this high that was just targeted. Afterwards comes these highs right here. So the daily bias is still bullish and we are still targeting all of these highs, right? So again, do not try to call this high. Don't think that the market is going to reverse. As I told you right here, just because we swept the high does not mean that we are reversing. Continue with your daily bias with a careful bullish daily bias. And so we continue wanting to target the highs. So we see the market reverses, comes towards this low, and then eventually we have a market shift towards this daily fair value gap. But at this point, you're thinking, okay, where will we go next, right? So at this point, where are we? And what are we targeting next? One of the things that is important to mention is, let's say that your daily bias was bullish right here. Let's see if there was even an opportunity for you to execute, because this is extremely important. If we go back down, you can see that there was no sweep of liquidity followed by a bullish market shift, which means that you wouldn't have a trade in of itself, right? So this is the goal, and this is extremely important. Our goal as traders is to have a bias, right? And then every time the bias is right, we try to take the maximum advantage of it. Every time the bias is wrong, we try to minimize the times that we execute on it. So just because your daily bias is wrong does not mean that you traded wrong. You might have not even taken the loss. So that is one thing extremely important, and that is going to help you so much as a trader. Understanding that even though your daily bias was wrong on one day does not mean that you are a bad trader, does not mean that you made a mistake, does not even mean that you took a loss, right? It's very important for you to know this. So now we're starting to have a little bit of a shift. So now the question is, where are we right now? What are we targeting next? So where are we right now? Well, we've just had a market shift right here on the daily. So what are we targeting next? We are targeting the fair value gap. So again, we start moving to the fair value gap after sweeping the previous day's highs. Then we move lower. Now, next target, what is it? Let me ask you guys. Okay, where are we? Bearish still for some time. What are we targeting next? Well, my next target is now closing this fair value gap, which with a little bit of manipulation is still a 30 pip move. So let's see what happens. Boom, we move up into the lows. How big of a move was this? This was a 40 pip candle, which means you could have easily taken a 1 to 2, right? So now your daily bias, sorry, I didn't change this from up there. Your daily bias is bearish because we just had this market shift, right? So from here on out, what is our next target? Now, my next target is the next order block, right? So let's see. We go back to the fair value gap right here. So where are we? We are at the daily fair value gap on a bearish short-term market structure. And our next target is going to be this order block. Boom, there you go. React beautifully out of the fair value gap. And then what is our next target? Our next target is going to be this weekly low, because this is a weekly open on a Monday. So again, bias still bearish. Where are we? We are in bearish market structure. What are we targeting next? Well, we are targeting the next PD array, right? So we've just tapped the order block. So after the order block comes the low, right? So notice what we did here. We market shifted. Then what is the next target? Well, the next PD array on the daily, the fair value gap. Then the close of the fair value gap. Then the order block. Then the low, right? So this is what you do in terms of targets. So let me add this in for you so when you are thinking of what we are targeting next, your answer is usually going to be one of these three things: a fair value gap, an order block, or a high or a low. So again, from here on, we wanted to target the order block, and now we want to target the low. Until when? Until we are proven wrong. So let's see. We target the low, and now you continue asking yourself, what is the next target? So next we have this daily low, and we also have a fair value gap all the way down here. Now you might say, well, Kimmel, we are starting to move lower. Now we will eventually move higher. We will eventually move higher, but I'm not trying to call this low. I'm waiting to see until I am wrong, and then I go with the flow again, right? So the issue with so many traders is that they are trying to call the low, not understanding that they can be wrong one time and then they are right again. That is my goal. My goal is I will continue trying to see if the market moves lower, and then eventually the market will prove me wrong, and then I will execute on the longs. So let's see. The market moves higher back to the order block and the fair value gap. So if these are disrespected, then we could be moving to the upside, and then we target the low and the fair value gap. So can you see how clear this daily bias was? And now your next target is going to be, for example, the close of this fair value gap. Let's see if that does indeed happen. So we start moving to the upside. And it's funny because at this point, inside of the simple trading edge, we were calling for the longs, but we didn't take them because this was FOMC basically. But now, what is the daily bias, right? You guys tell me, what is the daily bias here? It's bullish. Right? We just switched extremely bullish. This is the point where a lot of traders right now are going to be trying to call the lows while we understand, okay, this was all the pullback phase, and then we have the impulse up. So if you guys want to see, by the way, a video about market structure, then let me know in the comments. That would be great. And by the way, subscribe. That would really help out the channel. I'm trying to reach 100K as soon as possible. So now what am I looking for? I'm looking for a move lower followed by a move towards those highs. The daily bias is now bullish. I don't want to execute on any more shorts. I just want to execute on longs. And then as you can see, the market moved towards those highs. And then what do you ask yourself again? Well, where are we? What are we targeting next? Where are we? Bullish. What are we targeting next? Well, we have equal highs right here, which if I'm not mistaken, we're also targeted. So now we have this high. This is always where you look left and you look for possible potential targets for the next few days, right? So the daily bias continues to be bullish. So what do? We wait, okay? So we are reacting now out of the daily fair value gap right here. And then we start moving to the upside and boom, we explode to the upside. What is the next target now? It's this high. Is it not obvious right now? Is it not obvious that this high is going to be targeted? It is, right? So on this specific day, this is an easy long. So with that being said, next day, boom, we target not only that, but we target our next high. Then afterwards, we target the extreme. And then eventually we will go for that high. So let's see. Daily bias continues bullish. Let's see what happens. We have a little bit of a pullback. We pull back to what? To the fair value gap and the order block, right? So, you know what's funny? I can make this more complex, but I don't think you need to. But what are we targeting next? Also is possible to help you encounter trend moves, but I don't want to complicate this. So we target the order block and the fair value gap, and then we keep on breaking higher. So now, once again, the next target is going to be this high. Notice how we have just closed above this order block. We just engulfed this candle. So now I'm looking for something like that. And I want to execute on this move to the upside. What do we have on the next day? Boom, breaks all of these levels. Now let's see if we reach that particular high. I normally go for the wick also, by the way. So normally what I do, a quick secret here for you. I always put a fib on the wick. So what I do is I check the beginning, the 50% and the end of the wick. Those are all three levels that I personally look at. And then eventually we break through all of those and we break through the high. So can you see how a lot of traders, they get so caught on trying to call this high, to call this counter trend move, that they forget that the daily bias can be as simple as where are we right now and what are we targeting next? A lot of traders, and let me show you. This is basically the number of open positions long and short that my FX book has. And notice how so many traders got so bearish as the market was moving to the upside, right? Everyone was bearish as we were talking about these moves to the upside. So can you see how you can get such an amazing edge by simply avoiding to do what all of the other traders want to do? Now, before ending this video, I just want to leave you with a little bit of extra advice, which is number one, you don't need to know the direction every single day. If you don't know the direction for a day, just don't trade it or trade with lower risk. The next two pieces of advice are about when you are right and when you are wrong, which is either don't mind if you are right, that's great. If you are wrong, that's fine, because there is always another day to trade. As long as you use proper risk management, one day that you don't have the daily bias correct does not break you. 2 days does not break you. Your goal should be to call more levels right than you call wrong. So for me, it's all about not having to know the direction every single day. If I don't know the direction, then I simply will not trade. Minimize my losses when the direction is wrong, which means wait for extra confirmation if you see that the market is moving extremely bearish and your daily bias is bullish. But when you see that the market is moving in your favor, then make sure to maximize your wins. That is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe and leave a like if you like this video. If you want more of these, if you want the market structure video, then make sure to let me know in the comments. If you want to download this flow chart, then the link is going to be in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.